The story of God that I grew up with was not really a story of hope for me. I experienced it as a story that was based in fear. It's a story that began with me being a sinner whose eternal destiny was going to be hell, unless I chose to believe the story of Jesus. Jesus who died on the cross for me, for my sin, and that if I believed that, I wouldn't go to hell, but I would get to be with Jesus in heaven forever. Which is an incredibly beautiful story and is true. But it wasn't the whole story. 10 years ago, I heard a very different story of God. The story of God that does not begin with my sin, but begins in creation. Begins with this beautiful story of a God who creates a beautiful world, a good world, a world in which all life can flourish, humanity and everything else that God created. That's where the story of God begins, not with my sin, but with the goodness of life in the garden, with God, with each other, and with everything else that God has created. Then sin does enter the story. And the consequences of our sin don't just affect me, don't just affect us, but affects all of creation. Paul writes that the whole of creation groans because of what we have done. It's still groaning.